It's Friday, which means it's time to deploy. Do not adjust your sets. I am somewhere else. I'm actually in Portugal. I'm here for an company event. Jim, of course, is not here. He's back in Australia, but the show must go on, as they say. Let's go ahead and get into the latest news. This is a new show called Argo Unpacked. This is being hosted by Dan and Ravital, and this is a great show if you're at all curious about finding out what's latest and greatest in the world of Argo. We're going to be hosting this up on YouTube, and we'll eventually sort out its location somewhere on the internet. But for now, you can join us in about 3 days' time on February 10th for this great show. This is going to be at 7 p.m. UTC, so I think that's around noonish if you're in the States. And so Dan and Revital will go through the latest news regarding Argo. Really excited to be to watch this show, so make sure to check that out. That's up on YouTube. Join us for this exciting new podcast, Argo Unpacked. And if you happen to stumble upon the YouTube channel for Codefresh, we've got a bunch of videos there. I mentioned this last week about some of the videos that we have around environment basics, production flows, etc. So these and other explainer videos are becoming available, which is great. Great to see some of these topics come on the YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. That's up on our YouTube channel for Codefresh. It's a new blog post from Robert entitled Deprecations Coming in 2025. As you know, software is not a static field. Things are always constantly changing and evolving, and we are no different. So we have a list of deprecations that are being made, enforced in 2025.1. And some of the changes, most of these are pretty understandable. So we've got some changes regarding our support policies. So this hovers around the fact that we're building Calamari on .NET 6. We will intend to upgrade that to .NET 8. That may impact some customers who are running older versions of Linux platforms like Debian 11. So just be aware of that. And this blog post by Robert is great because it basically outlines what to expect in each instance. Section here on Windows Server 2008 targets. So the minimum version or the latest version of Tentacle has a minimum Windows requirement of Server 2012. However, we're still supporting workloads on older Tentacle agents running Server 2008. And since Microsoft has dropped extended support, we will follow suit. So in 2025.1, Octopus will no longer support running workloads on Windows machine running any version of 2008 or older. So be aware of that. Here's a section on what to expect for that. Bundled tooling, as you know, when you install Octopus, there's tooling that is incorporated as part of that. It helps you bootstrap, obviously, your instance when standing it up. There are a couple of tools in particular. For our Azure and AWS steps, we include the CLIs for both of those. If you're installing and running Octopus Server, and so since there are some drawbacks to doing that, we've decided to change basically the bootstrapping mechanism for that, meaning they won't be installed, and so we won't be bundling those tools as part of this. So that means that your installation steps will change. And note that also includes the Terraform CLI as well. So what that means is you're just going to have to take a couple of extra steps. The good news is that that should greatly reduce the size of our installation. So you'll be able to quickly grab the packages more easily and install. But there will be just a couple of extra steps to install those if necessity dictates for those. So be aware of those. Helm version 2, obviously, we rely on version 3 of the CLI. So Helm version 2 was officially deprecated back in November 2020. And so we are following suit. And so if you need to install Helm version 2 for your deployments, note that there are some breaking changes between V2 and V3. And there's a migration for that as well. Another CLI tool, or not CLI, but rather an integration tool, typically on the command line interface, which is Azure RM or the Azure Resource Manager. This is the one that allows you to integrate with PowerShell. This is something that this was Microsoft's, as they say, original way for interacting and managing Azure resources if you're utilizing PowerShell. And since that's been deprecated by Microsoft in favor for the CLI and PowerShell modules, we will follow suit in removing that built-in support as of 2025.1. So there you go. There's a list of deprecations coming in 2025. We've put that up in the blog post, and you can check that out there. For folks who are using our Terraform provider, you may have noticed that recently we've had some builds that haven't gone out, and so I'm happy to report that our build pipeline has been fixed, and so you're seeing now new versions of the Terraform provider going off to the Terraform registry, which is great. So you can see some of the latest versions here. We had a slight gap there just because our pipeline just needed to rotate some keys, and that's all resolved now. If you want to check out the Terraform provider, you can do so up at our GitHub, which is at GitHub Deploy. Or sorry, GitHub. Octopus Deploy Labs / Terraform provider, Octopus Deploy, and you can follow along if you're at all curious checking that out. Now, these and other things are well articulated in our roadmap. If you haven't seen this, roadmap.octopus.com, this should be your homepage. We've got a bunch of features detailed here, including those that are under consideration, as well as those that have been released. We have a section here for planned, and you may note here that there's one called Config as Code for Runbooks. Yes, this is a feature that's coming, and amongst other things around this. And the good news is that we actually have a series of webinars that will highlight this. So this is a webinar that we will be hosting next week with various members of the team, and we'll be talking about what that feature looks like. We'll be showing it off, and we'll be kind of highlighting what's new around this space. Don't forget, we've got other webinars as well, specifically our one-on-ones for each geo that we cover. And finally, we have our one coming up with Liam on his white paper entitled Kubernetes Delivery Unlocked. If you want to read his white paper, you can do so by visiting /publications. There you'll find a bunch of books that have been written by folks like Steve and Matt. If you want to check out Liam's white paper, it's here. You can download it. He will be joining me for a webinar later on this month on the 18th of Feb. Make sure to sign up for that. It'll be great, and he'll be basically sharing all the highlights of everything that he knows around Kubernetes deployments, which is going to be great. Events are another thing that we care deeply about. This is an event that's coming up later this month. If you happen to be in the Melbourne area, we will be at DDD Melbourne. We are longstanding supporters and sponsors of the DDD series, especially across Australia, and we will be at DDD Melbourne. Looking forward to seeing you there. If you happen to be in the area, please feel free to say hi to one of the Octonauts who may be there. And if you're at all curious, we've got a bunch of events listed at /events, which you can check out as well. We'll be at DevOps Live and at KubeCon EU, both in London, at the same location, the Excel in London. And so if you happen to be in the London area and going to one of these events, please, please, please come by our booth, say hi. We'd love to chat with you. And that is the week that was for Deploy on Friday. I'll be back in Australia next week. Looking forward to joining you then. I've had a great time in Portugal here. It's a great city, the city of Lisbon. I've been really enjoying it. And so, but looking forward to getting home. So anyways, from on behalf of Jim, who I guess sends his regards, and myself, happy deployments, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next week.